Alright, we're back by popular demand. Welcome back, gamers, to another Lost Ark video. Today we're going to be doing an energy overflow version of my Soulfist guide. Again, let me just make this clear as I possibly can right at the beginning of the video. This guide is not meant to be super in-depth or anything. It's just supposed to take questions you may have about the spec from any sort of surface level and answer them in video format with timestamps for you to scan through at your leisure. Some people don't like following written guides. This is for you. If you just want to copy whatever the fuck I have set up, this is for you, man. Or if you just want to listen to somebody talk about what they do, then this is also for you. Again, I will reiterate this at every single point in the video where it is relevant. The community guide is where you want to go if you want super in-depth information about any class in the game. Okay, that being said, energy overflow. It's the other engraving for Soulfist. Don't mind me. It still says I'm robust, but I'm not. Trust me, I swapped over to EO. I got my EO stuff on XD. Basically, though, EO is swiftness counterpart to specialization counterpart, robust. So it's a swiftness class. It goes very fast, very low cooldowns. What not to like, eh? Basically, though, relic set you have to go with is Dominion. You can use hallucination if you really enjoy doing less damage, I guess. Basically, though, you're pigeonholed into using Dominion. It is what it is. It's a bit annoying to upkeep in certain scenarios, especially if you're forced to cancel hype or go hype 3 early, whatever. But it's not too bad on Soulfist. Just make sure to use your awakening in hype 2 or 3, ideally. For engravings, you have a couple different things you can do. For 5x3, this is what I would have and what I'm going to build for my EO set as my 5x3. You can argue that Keen Blunt isn't the greatest because of the low crit rate, and I would completely agree with you. However, in my very preliminary testing for my character specifically, it seems like Keen Blunt is very similar, if not a bit better than Ether Predator. Ether Predator, obviously, is another +1 you can choose. You would drop Keen Blunt and instead go Energy Overflow 3, and then your +1 would be Ether Predator. And then, obviously, for a 5x3 setup, just drop Keen Blunt and replace it with EO3. That's your 5x3, so it would be Grudge, Raid Captain, Mass Increase, Adrenaline, EO3. You have quite a few options, and it's really just kind of up to you. Whatever you feel is better for you and your budget. It's a swiftness class, though, so it's way cheaper than most classes in the game to build, which is good. Another thing to note about Keen Blunt, I'm making it like I think I have something like 50% crit rate at most, and it's a bit better than EP1 and EO3, but that only gets bigger and bigger as you get more and more crit. So things like elixirs that are coming into the game that give a bunch of crit rate, things like crit synergy in our parties. Just keep that in mind. Keen Blunt scales much higher up than EP does. So even if Keen Blunt is equal to EP1 or even a little bit worse right now, I still think it's better to future-proof the build, for me at least, because I don't like constantly rebuying accessories. I kind of like to one and done it. Okay. Whew, that was a mouthful. Next thing on the list is card sets. Card set, obviously, you have the same choices as every other class in the game, but I will go over them for parity's sake. The most premier card set for damage in the game is obviously going to be Light of Salvation. You do not want to use Light of Salvation unless you have it at 18-piece Awakening or above, because at 12-piece and below, it doesn't do anything. 12-piece changes your damage to Holy, but that doesn't really do anything. it'll only do things on bosses weak to holy, which are not very many in the game. It's only when you start getting 18 and 30 Peace Awakening where you're adding holy damage in addition to changing your damage type to holy where you get any sort of benefit at all. You do have some other options, as we always like to point out here. Deep Dive is another option for newer players. Deep Dive is going to be just flat additional damage at 12, 18, and 30 Awakening. Solid choice. A lot of these cards are bought from vendors. Not a bad way to go. Another card set you can choose to use, and it's especially useful again for crit-starved classes. It's going to be Lost Wind Cliff, specifically at 12 Peace Awakening or higher. 12 Peace unlocks the 7% flat crit rate. Again, a lot of these cards are super accessible, whether it be through farmable things like this man right here, Solos, Syria, which can be bought from merchants, and I think one of the legendaries can also be bought from merchants. Yeah, Delane Armin. So you can buy half the set from merchants. Not too bad. Again, it's a decent set if you have nothing else, but you have this somehow. And of course, if you have none of these and you're really slumdogging it, I always say Field Boss. Field Boss is a great sort of last ditch. I have nothing else. I want to use something useful, so here we go. Field Boss 2. It just gives you max health, and if you somehow awaken it to 18 Peace, you do get a little bit of crit rate. Wowie, amazing. Alright, next on the list, let's go over skills, tripods, and runes. So, let's open this back up, go over to skills. So, how I'm going to do this is very simply, over here on the right side of the screen is the tripods. I'm going to go over tripods in a way that makes sense if you're not familiar. If I say 2, 2, 1, for example, so 2 being the first number, first tripod level, number 2, so energy compression. So 2, 2, 1, that would be weak point, energy compression, weak point detection, and 6th sense. 2, 2, 1 corresponds to the position of the tripod. Makes sense? So we're going to take Shadowbreaker, one of our highest damaging abilities, and we're going to run 2, 2, 1 for the tripods. Next up is Lightning Palm, another one of our top 3 damaging abilities. We're going to run 3, 3, 2 for the tripods on this bad boy. Bolting Crash. You can leave this at level 7 if you don't have the skill points as well, but Bolting Crash is another skill you can bring up to 10 when you have extra skill points. If you only have it at level 7, I would take 2-1. If you have it at level 10, take 2-1-1. This is going to be our synergy applying skill, as well as sort of a little bit of a mobility skill. Not too crazy, though. Flash Step is going to be our next skill. This is going to be a good mobility skill, in addition to an attack power buff for us. You can leave this at level 7, take 3-3 on it. Nice and simple. Illusion Strike, this is going to be the flex slot for Energy Overflow. I personally enjoy Illusion Strike. You have 2 other options if you don't like Illusion Strike. You are free to use either Tempest Blast or Force Orb. Force Orb is more damage than both of the other options. However, it's Force Orb and it assumes you're hitting all 3 Shotgun Orb projectiles every single time on cooldown, which honestly isn't realistic. I like Illusion Strike as it's a little bit of utility mixed with just good damage. Good enough damage, I should say. But for Illusion Strike, we max that out and we go 1-1-1 straight off the board. Next up is Celestial Palm. For tripods, we go 1-2-1 and we max it out. Next, we got Merciless Pummel, another returning favorite. Level 12, max it out, and we go 1-3-2 for the tripods. Last but not least, another fan favorite, Energy Release. We go 2-1-1 for the tripods on that, and we max it out at 10. Now, for runes, we're going to be putting Legendary Galewind on Shadowbreaker. we want to speed this up because we don't have any super armor or anything during this, and it's one of our highest damaging abilities. So we want to be able to get it out as soon as we possibly can, and any little bit helps. Lightning Palm, same idea, but we put a purple Galewind on it because our other legendary Galewind is reserved for another ability. Bolting Crash is our bleed bot. Put a bleed rune on Bolting Crash. Flash Step, you can put pretty much anything on it, honestly. I use Quick Recharge, though. But if I do need to swap it out for something else, say like a Purify rune, this is one of your flex skills for like a Purify rune. Illusion Strike, put a purple Galewind on it. Celestial Palm, I put a Quick Recharge on it. This is another flex skill that you can put like another Purify rune on if you really want to make sure you're pure. You do you, boo, of course. Merciless Pummel, this is where our other legendary Galewind goes, if you have two. If not, make it a purple. And Energy Release, we relegate to a blue Galewind. Such is life. Tripod priority, I can't really give you that great of a tripod priority because you pretty much want to level them all up pretty equally. There's no, like, one priority skill. You need Energy Release cooldown, you need Energy Release ready attack, you need Flash Step Victory Shout, you need your damage tripods. As far as tripod priority goes, it's kind of rough, to be honest, but it is what it is. For gems, pretty straightforward gem setup here. Basically, you want Shadowbreaker cooldown and damage gem, you want Celestial Palm cooldown and damage gem, you want Lightning Palm damage and cooldown gem, you want Merciless Pummel damage and cooldown gem, you want Illusion Strike damage and cooldown gem, and then to finish it off, you want an Energy Release cooldown gem. Very straightforward. So, how does Energy Overflow work as a class, sort of the engraving? So, basically, what Energy Overflow does is you do more damage if your energy is 30% or below, and your energy can't drop below 1, so you can't actually run out of energy. It's not possible. And you do more damage when you're low energy. Makes sense? The main difference between Energy Overflow and Robust Spirit is you have access to all 3 levels of your hype meter as Energy Overflow, whereas Robust Spirit, you go immediately into hype 3, and that's all you got. Another thing to note is the cooldown of your hype is significantly longer. You see here it lasts for 50 seconds if you go hype 3 and it runs out, 25 seconds for hype 2, or 10 seconds for hype 1. So keep that in mind. Specialization stat, which Robust Spirit goes, reduces your spirit recovery duration. So that is why it is as raw as it gets for EO. So if you don't like that, maybe you don't want to choose Energy Overflow. For rotation, again, I'm going to say this as clear as I possibly can. This is not going to be an in-depth cover of one of the millions of different breakpoints for rotation that you can do. That is in the community guide. What I do is I look at it from a more practical perspective. I look at it as a priority system. I do this for every single class I play. Pretty much every class in this game works in the same way, in that you will have a self buff that you will use, and then you will fit your best skills to worst skills within that window. So obviously our damage window is going to still be Energy Release, which is our 55% attack power buff. And then Flash Step, which you can stack up 15% pretty much 3 times. So it's a bit less than 55, but it's still suitable for doing damage. So you either want to have Energy Release buff on, or you want to have 3 stacks of Flash Step on to do damage. Keep that in mind, as it's the core of Soulfist, especially EO. That being said, how I prioritize my skills is very simple. I look at the damage distribution, and I take the highest damage skill, and I go in order down. So I will always prioritize Shadow Breaker, because if they all hit, it will do the most damage. Then I will go Merciless Pummel, because Merciless Pummel is number 2. Lightning Palm is up next, because it's number 3. Then Celestial Palm and Illusion Strike. Again, this is what I do. This is how I break it down. Is it the most optimal? No. Does it work? Yes. Again, if you want the in-depth explanation, community guide in the description. Go there. Not me. I will give you a small showing of what the rotation looks like. Keep in mind, I'm not super best at EO, but because of high swiftness, it's pretty forgiving. Obviously, I'm not doing it the most effectively because I'm just prioritizing skills as they come up, but you sort of get the idea. You pretty much just press whatever skill lights up that's highest on the priority list. At least that's what I do. Keep in mind, if you're looking for peak efficiency, this is probably not it. But anyways, that's just, again, showing you what I do and how I prioritize things. Sometimes it's better to just be getting your buttons out than actively try to get them out in a specific order, because the reality of this game is this big monster here is going to be hitting you and moving, so you're not going to be able to sit here and do like a fucking frame perfect rotation. Just do your best. Truly, just do your best. We're going to go over the Awakening now. Something about the Awakening is it pretty much does nothing. You just use it as a Dominion trigger. Basically, you use your Awakening and it triggers Dominion, which gives you a bunch of cooldown reduction and damage to skills. So, you just use it. I just tap it. Like, let's see how much damage it does if I just use it raw. Yeah, that's nothing. Let's see if I hold it down. That is so bad. Let's see, Hype 3. A tap? Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, you can see it does basically no damage. It's just a Dominion trigger bot. The last thing I think I want to cover is I'll do a damage chest. Again, keep in mind, I'm not doing the most efficient rotation. I'm just doing what I outlined in the video, where I prioritize most damage to least damage, and I just press whatever lights up in that rotation priority. One of the last things I did want to touch on, though, is the hype timing. So hype timing is very important, and it's not really something that somebody can explain to you. But basically, Hype 1 is completely useless. You're never going to spend any time in Hype 1. The only time you're going to be in Hype 1 is to go to Hype 2. Hype 2 is the first hype where you can just chill out in. Hype 2 is good for consistent damage, and it's obviously good enough to proc your Dominion, because it will give you 100% Dominion uptime very easily. The main benefit of Hype 2 is, obviously, you have instant access to Hype 3 whenever you desire. When to go Hype 3 is something that you sort of have to figure out on your own, but generally, it's better to go Hype 3 than it is to just drop Hype 2 and wait for the recharge. What I mean by this is, if you can get like half of a useful Hype 3 duration worth of damage out into like any sort of down period, like a mechanic or whatever, it's probably more damage for you to go Hype 3, even if you don't get all of the bonus time in Hype 3. But again, it's not something I can really explain to you. It's something that you're going to have to get used to on a fight-by-fight basis. And this is sort of the thing that trips a lot of people up. But honestly, for me, when I do play EO, especially on fights that I don't have a clue about timings, I will pretty much always just start hype 2. I'll do my button pressing, you know, I'll be having a good time, I'll press all my buttons. And then if there's ever, like, a noticeable damage window, like say the boss gets staggered or there's, like, a mechanic where he stops moving or whatever, then that's when it's hype 3 time. You immediately go hype 3, you start pounding his little butthole. Or her butthole, I'm not, you know, gonna... Yeah, let's just pretend I never said that. I really do just say whatever comes to my mind, don't I? I was gonna say we don't gender discriminate here, but, you know. But basically, anytime you know the boss is going to be not moving and, say, like, supports are going to be dumping their 3 bars, their blessed auras, you know, whatever the damage buff may be, it's time to take advantage of your hype 3. Even if it means you're canceling your hype 2 early to go into hype 3, because getting the duration of your hype 3 off is much more important than anything else in the game, basically. And anytime you spent in this cooldown period while the boss is untargetable or you can't really do damage to the boss, this is a DPS gain in my eyes. Because if nobody's hitting the boss and you're cooling down your hype, you're just going to go straight back into hype 2 at minimum, and you're going to keep pumping. Or if you're super lucky, the boss will go into like a stagger mechanic again, and you just immediately pop hype 3 and you do the exact same thing you just did. Anyways, it's a bit long-winded, but hopefully it makes a little bit of sense to you. I don't know. It's hard to explain, okay? What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going hype 2 immediately, then right before it ends, I go hype 3. When hype 3 ends, I'll wait out the full cooldown period of hype 0, and then that'll be the end of the damage test. Because obviously I could just skew it super high if I just did insta hype 3 like a minute or whatever. Capiche? Okay. So let us... I have no idea how long that's going to be. Let's say... I'll just let it count up. We'll be honest around here. So... basically, you always want to use your Awakening in Hype 2 or the end of Hype 3 so you don't lose Hype, because it'll lower the cooldown of your Awakening and make 100% Dominion uptime easy. So we're going to keep that in mind while we do this. So let's start up the test. We'll do this. I'm not even going to hit the boss with it, because it does fuck all for damage anyways. Build up my adrenaline stacks, and we go. Double Shadow Breaker. Merciless Amel. We're gonna get a Lightning Palm. Get a quick recharge proc. We love those. Do I get a Shadow Breaker? I do. Very cool. You basically alternate between 2 Shadow Breakers per energy release and 2 Lightning Palms per energy release. Oh, I didn't hit energy release. Too busy yapping. And then when you go hype 3, you basically have no downtime whatsoever. It's just energy release to energy release. You can kind of see what I mean. Damage kind of go crazy. Now we have 50 seconds of cooldown period. Alright, we'll consider that done. So it was a full Hype 2, Hype 3, Hype 0 cycle. Again, 47% crit rate, so Keen Blunt is only going to scale better. The more synergy you get, the more crit rate you get with elixirs, etc., etc. just things to keep in mind. Overall, hopefully at least some of you found this useful. I know some of you did find the other one useful, and you asked for an EO one as well. Again, I'm not super knowledgeable on EO as I am RS, but I have played it a bit in Hell now, and I do quite enjoy it, and I think it's quite Hell viable, all things considered. And it's very strong engraving right now, definitely. Both engravings are good. I think EO is probably better on the high end for sure, and probably on the mid end. Low end, RS probably wins, but it's hard to say, and it doesn't really matter. Anyways, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys. Honestly, I just can't say it enough. Thank you guys. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff, and subscribe if you want to see more vids from ya boy. It's me, your boy. Thank you to my YouTube members, of course. Consider becoming a member. Thank you to all my tier 2s, Blitzel, Remix My Life, Aerozyke, I'm Nufu, Peachy Jacob, and all my tier 1s, It's Biscuits, Inder, Diz, Clouded, Jangerous, Joxini. I'm out. Bye.